Whew. It's 10 after 11. I have been processing some massively big awareness, and I just hit me, and I'm here to share it. Not everybody's going to be prepared to have this level of awareness, but listen as long as you can. If it triggers you, then step back and come back again later. Fundamentally, this is the way out. And where to begin? So my fundamental beliefs are, I am a facet of God, and we are all facets of God. We're all source beings. We all came from a collective that was love, simply love. And that collective could not experience being not itself without a fundamental schism or shift inside that experience. So for us to break off from being part of that fundamental source, being, flow, whatever you want to call it, to have a human embodied experience, you had to devise a way to break yourself away from love, which is a really humongous task, because love is all-encompassing. It accepts everything, and we are all fundamentally it. So how do you smash yourself or break a piece off of love so it can have a human experience, so it can understand density, it can understand fear, it can understand fear, which is the opposite of love, and all these dark experiences? This fundamental source, let's use that word. Some people don't like the word God, but it was begging to have new experiences and have all the experiences as rapidly as possible, so it could expand and it can grow and it can know itself at a fundamental. If I'm not love, if I'm bad, if I'm evil, if I'm in a bad relationship, if I'm been raped, if I've been whatever, what does that feel like? Even some of those terms like raped and those kind of things had to be constructed in reality to have an experience from. So this may be hard for some people or whatever, but we came here and we chose the darkest of the dark as an experience. Only some souls are able to come to this reality. So we chose to be raped, to be violated, to be bankrupt, to be, pencil in all the bad things, abused as a child, blah, blah, blah. Pencil all those things in. We came to see how we would respond and how we would learn from it. And there's a massive soul and reality growth going on in the universe from this experiment. Because not all the universe did it. It just happened here on Earth. That's why we have all these support. But it kind of got out of control because the darkness and the ones that got really good at the darkness, what's the term? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there's clues in this human universe, and I've talked about them before. There's a book called A Course in Miracles. It's like this giant Bible book with the paper is like onion skin or whatever, and its basic purpose is to unbind you from 3D reality. You go through the processes in the book, which are juxtapositions of reality and love and all these kind of things. And over time, those processes, and they're like mind numbing. It's like reading Old English. It's just kind of like, the words are kind of screwing with your brain. And basically, as you process through the book, and I got to that point a few times, you'll start seeing through reality the mind fucks and stuff that are in the book or whatever, and then all of a sudden you'll see like spontaneous flashes of light. You'll see through the matrix. I saw that. I'm driving down the road, and it's like all of a sudden there's these big like holes and flashes and stuff like that, and it's like, what the fuck was that? Well, so the fundamental premise of the Course in Miracles is that we began this experience as human beings in a moment that was called the mad thought. We were all part of Source, and at that moment, someone that was part of Source, or some part of Source, because they're all one, said, what if we weren't Source? And we were instantaneous creators at that point. So the universe found a way to make you not Source, a part. And it fractaled off a fragment of God, of Source, of reality, whatever you want to call it, and found a way to put us into duality. So that's what being human is referred to as duality. So we are Source because we can never not be Source and not be energy and all those things. But at the same time, we have a human representation or avatar. That's me right here, right now. I believe I'm not Source. And that's duality. I'm exist in both awarenesses. There's a higher self part of me that's way up there that knows all this stuff and is energetic and is watching me and smiling as I am having an experience as not Source. So if we're fundamentally love, how do you become not love? It's a choice. So when you choose to come into a human body or a soul or whatever you want to call the term, or into duality, you make a choice to be not Source, which means not love anymore. So we make a fundamental choice. Now, Bible and all these other things call this term, they say it's Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and they chose knowledge, and that was the apple, and that was given by the snake, and that knowledge soured us from love. We all of a sudden were ashamed and had to have fig leaves over our genitals because we saw we were naked, and that wasn't good. Well, naked and being pure and all that kind of stuff is love. So all of a sudden we had to see it as dark, as shame, as whatever. So a fundamental choice of eating the apple or going into duality, we chose to come into this human form. Now, to be in this human form, the Course in Miracles talks about it, and I fully have experienced it because I know those facets of myself. What happened was, in that moment of choice, something called the ego was created. And the ego basically jumped in. It's a mental construct, and it said, oh, you did something bad. You made a choice to be not part of God, so you're not worthy of being God. You're bad, and you're bad, and you should be ashamed of it. And this part of us, think of it as the veil or the smoke screen. It's basically a part of us that's consciously aware, but its whole role is to keep us separate from God, separate from love, unworthy of love. And basically it goes in, and I can feel it in my body now. My heart is literally like this little pinhole, like almost black hole. It's in the center of my chest. I have this crunchiness, but it's so dried up and desiccated from not being love and having every experience of not being love that I can't even feel my heart swell at times for love. And I've had some really dark experiences with the feminine in my life that I've drawn and created and this kind of stuff. Now, being we're source creators, just remember that we start to create everything around us. Our reality is our reality. Why do they call it a collective reality? Well, some beings wanted to pull us together so that they could have power, so they created a collective reality, and then they imprisoned us by enslaving us, and they can be a king and we can't, and blah, 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 blah. There's all these little side journeys in darkness, and then there's things like Illuminatis and Satan and all these things. Well, you get enough people that aren't love, they're going to create a lot of not love and not positive experiences, and then eventually we end up all these people having these experiences. How do we get into this now that the system has been built? And we have things like having babies, and we're born to parents that are not having an experience of love because they got tangled up in the mess. And guess what? Those parents now have things like lineage traumas and past facets of grandparents and other things that are living on in our parents by the programs and the traumas and the beliefs. So this whole system of not love is propagating to give us an experience. So this is pretty deep and high level stuff, but once you start to realize that living in duality is a choice, living in a human form is a choice, and whether or not you're happy or unhappy or traumatized or not traumatized is a choice, and we are ultimately source creators still in bodies. We've been taught that we do have no choice. We have been taught that we cannot manifest or create, but we can. But if you're in a constant ball of hell or darkness or not love, and you believe it, and it's programmed by the TV and programmed by software and programmed by our government and religion and all this kind of stuff, you will continue to give up your power to what we'll call darkness. Well, and I'll call darkness not love. So I'm going to, based on this sounds really complex and this is really hard and all this kind of stuff. I'm just going to say, I choose love. And it resonates into my body. I choose love. And I choose to abandon the stories and the programs and the software and the whole thing that bound me here. And I choose to be worthy of love. I choose to fill my life and my heart and my body and my soul with love. It's not a big, huge task to start to become aware. And what I'm speaking of here is root awareness of your duality and the fact that duality forced you to not be loved. And yeah, we can say, okay, our mother loved us or whatever. Well, our mothers were poisoned. They had wounds. They had discomfort. They had anger. They had the programs of their parents. And they don't know what poison they gave in their thoughts and in their beliefs and in their love. My mother, like I said, was poisoned as a child. She was raped as a child, and she felt herself unworthy, even more unworthy. And I got those programs. And my mother was so unworthy that she had to feed off of her children, which is very common. Most mothers are doing this, so it's not anything bad. This is the root wound. So you got fed off. I can remember coming in as a baby and just expecting pure unconditional love because that's what babies are. And the system perverted me. It twisted me. Religion twisted me. Oh, you should be shameful about sex. Oh, you are a sinner. Oh, you're bad. The whole system has been created to ease us into out of being pure, innocent, unconditional, loving babies and into twisted, dual beings that started off in a loving state and got twisted into unlove, is the best way to describe it. And so we're now wandering in this experience of what we might call darkness or hate or hell or whatever, but it's a choice. We came here to have that experience, to feel that crushing collapse, so that an unconditional love being could have an experience of not. So the ego comes in, well, the ego needed help and reinforcement, so it just chooses parents that are having big wounds. And we carry those wounds forward, and then we carry them to our children. And that's the propagation cycle of having a dual experience. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and you might not believe it, but you have the choice to not have a dual experience at any point you want. You have a choice to be fully aware. I'm aware. I'm choosing to be fully aware of the whole system. And I'm telling you that that's a red pill. They talk about it in the Matrix. It's like, oh, that awareness will kill me or be awful or whatever. That guy that wanted to go back and eat the steak and have a big house, and he sold off Neo at the very first. That's what, once you're in, you can't go back in. Well, they said he could go back in or whatever. I guess there's programs or whatever that can do that. But this fundamental awareness that you're having a dual experience changes everything. And the fact that you can change everything in an instant is all by a choice changes everything. It gives you your power back. And you're not going to believe me, but this is it's like a mind virus that's going to go in and it's going to eat at you, and it's going to say, what if that's true? I've had this my whole life, and I've always thought it's just a choice to be happy. It's just a choice to have all these things be better. But honestly, I wouldn't know who I am right now. This all-loving, happy, pissed off sometimes and had some really dark experiences the last little while. And yes, I projected on women, but women are within me. So if I make a statement and it shows up in another woman and it triggers them or whatever, that woman is in them. These are all facets of our family. And think of lineage. Like, if it all started with an Adam and an Eve, we're all related at some level, energetically. So if I'm healing it in me and I'm dealing with all the shit in me and I'm triggering it in somebody else or whatever, I'm doing it for the whole. So really, there is no such thing as projection and all this kind of stuff. You deal with what shows up in you, and I always have. And some people have told me that I'm not, or I'm projecting on women or whatever. I'm holding my divine feminine inside me accountable in ways that other women do not like and enjoy. Holding them in truth and integrity and making agreements, all this kind of stuff, which feels really uncomfortable to people that aren't in integrity and not comfortable with a man having power or whatever. That's another whole game that's going on, and disempowering women. And I think women have far more power than they will actually admit. But unfortunately, it's been pushed into the shadow in manipulation and lies and cattiness of each other and fights and anger and stuff, which is all part of the shadow. So this is a long video, but there's a shitload of truth in here. Just say, I am love, and trust it. I choose love. I choose better. I choose abundance right now. I choose better divine feminine experiences in my life, because I call it a primary harness, but the lack of love that I felt was the very thing that allowed me to have a dual experience. And Look at the craziness. We're running around trying to find love our whole life and have a experience where somebody will give us love because somebody's taken all our love and all this kind of stuff. No, we primarily chose it, and it came in through our mothers or fathers or our primary wounds. And that harness basically feeds a level of, think of darkness or the demons or whatever, that these are the shadows of, let's say you had a really dark mother and father that had a bunch of power and they took over reality, all these cabal families or whatever, and they never really wanted to die. So a part of them lived on in the programs and the stories and the wounds they left in their children, they left in other people, they left the rules they left in the world. So really, people in absolute darkness can live on forever, but people in absolute light can live on forever because we're all infinite beings. So would you want it to fall apart and end at the moment you die? No, it just carries on. So that's what's being cleaned up right now. All these things in the shadow, the things and the wounds that were never really healed are being healed by absolute light being shone. Why do you think we're talking about this big, huge light wave that's going to come on the planet? It's going to clarify and clear and clean out all the shadow and all the ego and all the bullshit that forces us to believe that we're not part of God or part of creatorship. It's going to clean it all up, and it's going to be intense because people's hearts are going to have to open, or people are going to burn up. They're just going to be stuck in the shadow holding on. Their arms will be torn off because they're holding on to the freaking tree stumps of woundedness and hurt and pain and suffering. So this whole process that's going on right now is trying to set us free in the most gentle way possible, with the least damage and the least carnage of humanity, because we all lovingly chose to have a dual experience with darkness and being not love, and it got out of control, and now they're trying to bring it back in a way that will keep us from having our arms torn off. So make the choice. I am love. I am love. Look at it in my eyes. I am love. I start to fill my heart with love. My heart hurts. I can feel it, and I cough with grief, and it's just like my heart is so friggin' tight like this, but I still love. Around it is love. But that fundamental wounds, those fundamental things of mother and women and dad and all the things that kept me small are now up for grabs. I don't need them. I don't need to be small anymore. I want to be big. I want to be pure. I want to be light. I want to be my full and complete God self. You want that? It might scare the hell out of you, but this is where we're at. This is the truth, about as truth as I can give you. And it's going to sit there and it's going to knock on the door. If you want it, great. If you don't want it, then move on. I'll still be here, and when you're ready, I'll give you the truth. And for those of you that are having trouble getting the truth or whatever, I can do one-on-one coaching, breath work, other things, and we'll very rapidly get you through that door. Keep the struggle down to a minimum. That's what I am. I'm a map of how I got here. And I'm not special. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm just fucking ready to be done with this. So I love you. I hope this helps. Have a good day.